So you think at number 4, what's going to happen when that hits?
All right. I'm going to say this right now, 9 days out. I think Minnesota is very interested in trading up. I've heard from others around the league that is almost common knowledge right now. They've got 2 first-round picks. They've got, more future firsts than anybody. They're loaded with picks and ammo, except they're all the way back at 11. The New York Giants are at 6. They can make a trade with Arizona, and Arizona can still get one of the top wide receivers, which would be Harrison, Odunze, or Neighbors. If they go back all the way to 11 and trade with the Minnesota Vikings, those guys aren't on the board anymore. So to me, the Giants, they make an offer. They offer their 6th overall pick. They offer either a future first or they offer a 2nd and a 3rd, however you want to do it. And Joe Shane and the Giants go and get a quarterback that this group selected, that this group drafted. And yes, they gave a quarterback $80 million a year ago that they didn't select, but they can get out of that contract in this year. I could tell you the Giants have done so much work on these quarterbacks that has been maybe a little underreported. I would not be surprised if New York jumped up just 2 spots and they got J.J. McCarthy, and away we go.
Okay, and away we go. And how do you see that playing out? Because they got Drew Lock, and we know that Daniel Jones is still going to be a Giant this year based on his contract. You just said the words that they can get out of it after this year, and he is coming back from a knee injury, and he will be made available at some point during the playing season. But then there's J.J. McCarthy right there. How do you see this all playing out in a New York City market that would go nuts if something like this happens?
Isn't this crazy? Like, I'm picturing the New York Post headlines the next morning, and it's just one of those deals where, okay, we've got 3 young quarterbacks now. Obviously, Daniel Jones would be in the catbird seat as the number 1, and Locke would be the 2. And then let's see how McCarthy does. Rich, I remember being in Seattle for training camp in 2011 where it was the late Travaris Jackson and Matt Flynn had just signed a major deal. And it was just like, well, Russell Wilson's the best quarterback in camp. He's going to start week 1. And everyone was like, we can't deny that. It's one of those deals where let's let them all compete. Obviously, it's Jones's job to lose, but at some point, McCarthy is going to get a look if they draft him 4th overall.
Okay, so let's just say this happens draft night and the buzz finally leaves the draft room in Detroit after J.J. McCarthy is named a New York Giant. Peter Schrager here on the Rich Eisen Show with a mock draft. So in this you can't make it up world, right? In this you can't make it up sport, in the event of the NFL that is in the non-playing season, the most you can't make it up event they have, you're saying J.J. McCarthy getting taken off the board at 4, being traded up 4 to go take off the board, allows Jim Harbaugh, his spirit animal national champion coach from Michigan, to take Ohio State's Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what you're saying the football gods are potentially cooking up for us, Peter Schrager.
Aren't they hilarious? Isn't that how they can do it? Yeah, and I don't think they would pass on him. I know a lot of people are saying that that's a trade back possibility, that the Chargers and Joe Ortiz, their new GM with Harbaugh, would be looking to trade back a little bit, maybe pick up some ammunition. I think that's if McCarthy is still on the board. They might be able to help pick and place where he ends up, whether it be Minnesota or Denver or even the Giants moving up 1 spot. But I think they stay put if McCarthy goes 4, which is how I have it, and they take Marvin Harrison Jr. And if anybody knows the Ohio State wide receiver and what he can do, I think it's the guy who played him in the big game for several years.
That's right. And the defensive coordinator he just hired from Michigan, and Jesse Minter, I mean, obviously he's probably pounding a table for something, a trade back and maybe Dallas Turner or who knows. But they did keep the 2 defensive linemen, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and let both of their wide receivers go, one by trade, one by just letting them walk to the Jets. This makes complete and total sense, Peter, to just say, okay, Marvin Harrison Jr., meet Justin Herbert. Justin, that's Marvin, and go to work. I mean, that makes total sense, right?
Let's go. I think so. And, I had one GM, I sent this to him, and he was like, yeah, but Greg Roman offenses, they don't really value the wide. You're overthinking it. Like, if Marvin Harrison's on the board at 5 and you have a need at wide receiver, take Marvin Harrison. And
then next, Arizona would be at 6 based on the trade that you presume would happen between the Giants and Arizona. And then they would go Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors, in your opinion. Why do you think that?
Either or, right? Like, what do you want? And in this case, I like Odunze to go before Neighbors in this scenario. But if you said Neighbors went 6, I wouldn't bat an eye either. In this case, they're very different types of players, but also Odunze with Kyler, like, I just feel like that's a good combination. And so many stories about Odunze the guy, and this is nothing like Odunze versus Neighbors, but you saw the stuff at the combine, how he stayed late to do the 3-cone drill. But I've heard from people at his pro day that he was the most, charismatic, upbeat teammate, leader, the whole thing. And he walks it, talks it. Like, as far as ranking the people in this draft, I've not heard a negative word on Rome Odunze, and there's not even a con to his game. So I think he would be a very solid pick. And if you're Arizona, all right, you're trading back a couple spots, but you can still get Odunze. I think that's a nice little win right there.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And then whatever the Giants would flip to Arizona to move up those 2 spots would be in their quiver for the rest of this draft and not future drafts. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.